Of all the things I love about Kingdom Hearts, the various Keyblades you collect throughout your travels are one of my favorites. The very concept of the Keyblade as a weapon is such a versatile design that lends itself to all different kinds of look and feel. That's why I'm taking a closer look at each Keyblade from the mainline installments. I'll be scoring each Keyblade on various categories while also taking note of how the overall design scheme changes from game to game. We're going all the way back to the beginning with the Kingdom Key as seen in Kingdom Hearts 1. The first category I'll be judging each Keyblade on is the easiest to explain. Basically, is the Keyblade nice to look at? In the Kingdom Key's case, of course it is. It sets the standard for all Keyblade designs to follow it. The color scheme is solid. The silver and gold work well together. It's not an overbearing combination, but there's also a solid contrast. And it manages to work in a splash of color with a small bit of blue. Overall, this is a great example of less is more. However, it is a little too plain looking for my taste, and honestly, I'm kinda tired of seeing it after so many years. The main problem the Kingdom Key suffers is what I like to call the Pikachu effect. Even though it's an objectively good design, it's become so overused to the point where I kind of resent it. It's not really its fault. It kinda comes along with the territory of being the signature weapon of the series protagonist. But then other characters start waving it around like it's nothing. I think the breaking point for me is when you literally start seeing two Kingdom Keys on screen at once. So I can only like this design to a certain extent. But still, it's a pretty solid design. I'll give it 4 out of 5 hearts. Theming is a little different than appeal. It's one thing to look nice, but are you looking nice with a purpose? This category is easier to judge for the Disney Keyblades, but the original Keyblades all have certain references or stories they're trying to tell. In the Kingdom Keys case, it's telling the story of what a Keyblade is in its purest form. I mean, it's right there in the description. And that's exactly what the Kingdom Key is. It's a basic skeleton key with a handle. Solid. There are 2 distinct references in the design, the first obviously being the Mickey Mouse keychain, and the second being Sora's crown symbol in the teeth of the blade. I think this is a neat little metaphor for Kingdom Hearts as a series. On one end you have Disney, and on the other you have Final Fantasy / the original plot. I can't knock any points off in this category. It's the purest execution of the idea. 5 hearts out of 5. The third category grades the function of the blade, rather than the form. Basically, how good is it in fights? In the Kingdom Keys case, well, it gets the job done. It's like the hot and readies of Keyblades. It's kinda hard to put a number on this one since it's your starter weapon, so it has a built-in expiration date, but it gets you where you need to go. So we'll land on 2.5? The final round is made up of a bunch of smaller categories that shouldn't be weighted as equally as the other 3, but they're still worth talking about. They're not so much categories in themselves, but chances for extra credit. First up, sound design. There are 2 unique sounds attached to each Keyblade, the swipe and the hit. They're both pretty basic for the Kingdom Key. The hit does have a nice impact to it, but no extra point here. Next is visual effects. This goes hand in hand with the sound design. The Kingdom Key's swipe leaves a gold/orange trail. The particle effects on impact is a mini constellation of yellow and blue stars. On a closer look, you can actually see there's a shining light at the center, followed by a burst of sparks. I actually really like this detail. It's very reminiscent of the light that shines when the Keyblade first appears to Sora, so that's a really cool touch actually. I'll give it a point here. Then we have the name. On paper, Kingdom Key is simple, but I like it. It comes really close to the whole saying the title of the series shtick, so that's a bonus, and it has the alliteration going for it. But, now that I'm recording it and saying it out loud, it's actually kinda clunky to say. Kingdom Key, Kingdom Key, Kingdom Key. So, I was gonna give it a point, but now I'm gonna have to take it back. Second to lastly, the keychain. This definitely falls under the same umbrella as appeal and theme, but it's such a distinct part of the design, and one I really appreciate, that I feel it's worth mentioning on its own. It's also such a small part of the design that you can easily separate it from the overall look for the rest of the blade. Story and lore implications aside, the Mickey symbol is perfect for the Kingdom Key. Again, it tells you right out of the gate what Kingdom Hearts is just by looking at the design of the main weapon. Finally, the X Factor. This is kind of a fill-in-the-blank spot. Does the Keyblade stand out in any other unique way? It could be anything, really. And yes, the Kingdom Key absolutely has the X factor. It's like your starter Pokemon. It's obviously going to have a special place in your heart, even if there are way cooler designs later on. The final score for the Kingdom Key is 14.5 hearts. Not too high, not too low. A real Goldilocks of a Keyblade. Overall, it's a great design, but one that doesn't have a lot of staying power in-game for me.